Hey guys, this is Thomas here. Let me see. I need to figure this out. I have not really run a good Hangout before. Let me see. Your screen sharing. Stop. Present to anyone. Everyone. Present to everyone. Okay. Let's see. Can you guys hear anything? You don't. I don't have any viewers. Okay. And let's see. How do I hit record on this thing? I need to figure this one out. Okay. Cameraman. Whoa, cameraman. No, don't need that. Don't do that. Okay, it is live. Let me see. Capture. No, that's not it. Ah, nice. Thank you very much for letting me know, Craig. It is. Okay, great. Excellent. Cool. So that sounds like you actually, can you actually hear me, Craig? Can anyone hear me yet? I was expecting you, I was expecting to see, oh yeah, here's the Q&A. So use the Q&A, please, to let me know that you're there and that you can hear me, if you would. Come on and join. And let me know when I'm good to go here. Okay, that doesn't work. Let's see, chat is open. Chat is open. And Q&A. Okay, submit questions. Submit questions so I can see them. Let me know when you're here. When somebody's here, let me know that you're here. I can hear you. Yay! Excellent. That's wonderful. Can you see me too? I'm kind of surprised that I am not able to see who is on. I was expecting this to be kind of like a live hangout, but I suppose it's not. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna turn off my camera. And okay guys, let me know who's here and that you can all hear me. I think we're live and we're good to go and it's recording, so that's all good. Once I have a few more people responding and let me know that you're there, I'm going to go ahead and get started here and go through some slides that I wanted to show you that I've prepared quickly today. I'm still really tied up, kind of tweaking the campaign and making sure it ends with a big bang like I would like to. I just passed 7,400 altogether sales today with that campaign, and that's very exciting for me. Okay, excellent, very good. I was expecting that you can see that. That's good. Let me try something. I want to actually go into present mode here to go through this, but you know what? This is actually going to work just fine. Let me move this out of the way. Where are you? There. Okay. So many screens. All right, great. Okie doke. So who else is here? How many people do we have on the line right now? Let me take a look. Look around a little bit here if I can see stuff. Guess I can't be on my own hangout. That's fine. I don't need to be on my own hangout. Okay, 10 others are going to watch. I'm shocked that I can't better more. Oh, there's some viewers. 13 people watching. Yay, yay, yay. Okay, great. So I suppose, let's see, say something. Hi, guys. All right. Okay. All right. Viewers. Okay, watching 13. You know what? This is good enough. Since it's recorded, let's just jump into this and I'll show you what I got. Okay? Ask questions, ask away questions anytime. I'm going to try to kind of keep this this app on the side so that I can follow along if you guys are asking questions. Does this do anything bad to what you're seeing? Can you see what I'm doing right now? Probably not. Okay, fine. Beautiful. Now let's go. All right. Why is this moving? All right. Okay. All right, here you go. So here's what I put together for you guys. So check it out. This is a current snapshot of this campaign from this morning. We have up here on the top is the main shirt, third run on this one. The first run went for like 12 days. The second run went for 5 days. And this is the third run. So the third one just passed 1,000 sales this morning. And these are most of these other numbers here that are below this are other styles of the same campaign, basically. And at the same time, in the other shot in the back office, the ended pieces of the campaign are over here. And you have, this is, let's see, this here is the first run. It says ended 9 days ago. So it sold 2,559 in the first run. And that is the main shirt. And then I instantly relaunched that, and then 5 days later it ended also, and it sold more in the second 5 days than in the second run with 5 days, than in the first run with 12 days. So that's pretty cool. It really got momentum, and that shows our scaling. My scaling really worked really well there in this phase. And then so the third run is now 1,000 shirts sold. It's lost some momentum, and it has to do somewhat with the timing, because it's an event-based shirt basically, and we're kind of past the threshold of where people can be pretty confident that they'll be able to get the shirts before the critical time event. So that's the main reason why it's lost some momentum. So I'm saying basically, if I had started this campaign, if I had gotten the idea that led to this shirt 3-4 weeks earlier, I think I would have been way higher on sales. Anyway, I'm very happy about where I am and how everything worked out. Now, these other red boxes here are the other styles that also ended prior. That actually, it seems like they're not all styles. I'll show you that on the next in the next slide, and I'll talk a little bit more about why I split them up into different styles in the first place. You may be wondering why someone would want to do that. Okay, so this is the current snapshot, and this here is the current totals on all 4 styles. And here you can see how I broke them basically apart, or how I separated them. On the main shirt, it's basically standard, Hanes shirt with a bunch of colors. And I think there's also a long sleeved in there, and like 1 or 2 colors of a slightly better quality shirt as well as in there. And so all of these are now, and again, these are all fresh snapshots from this morning, 6,300 sold. Now this one here is the hoodie. The total hoodie sales are at 553 as of this morning. Then the third one that I added was the kids tees, and they are now up to 289. And actually, I should mention, in the hoodie there's also the some of the Bella flowy tank tops are in there as well. And I also, whenever I split up a hoodie, I also throw in another Hanes shirt just in case someone just lands on this one and just wants to buy a shirt. There's a little trick. When I add usually when I run the hoodie at the front, I price that just under $40. And then I usually price the Hanes shirt a couple of $3 higher when it's not the front shirt as opposed to when it is the front shirt. So when it is the front shirt, I usually run it at either $22.90 something or $23.90 something. And when I throw it in as the back shirt of the hoodie being the front, I price actually a couple of dollars higher, and I never really get any problems on that one. Now, so the third shirt that I added was the kids tee, and that went really well too. And then I had some requests on the Facebook page for also adding women's tees, you know, women fit tees. Some of the ladies there said, well, you know, the unisex Hanes style really doesn't fit all that well, and they wanted women's tees, and they, yeah, you see it, you know, they bought 189 just women tees right there. And I also, in this one, I also added, this one is run with the women's cut as the front shirt, but I also added some additional particular, you know, female related, more like pinkish and all that kind of stuff, hoodie colors as well. So hoodies are kind of split up between these two. It's like, okay, you know, whatever. Yeah, so, but you'll see a bit later on that there are some hidden benefits on, you know, to splitting up the campaigns. Well, I mean, obviously, the main benefit is that you can present way more different styles and colors this way, right? I mean, even with very high sales numbers, you know, I asked if I could add some more styles to those running campaigns, and they said, well, yeah, we don't have a problem, you can add a couple. But then, you know, you're basically up to 12 styles that you have to break up between colors and styles, and that really still doesn't get you to where you want to be. And, you know, believe it or not, in all of these campaigns, every single available style, every single available color has some sales. So, you know, it definitely allows you to add more sales if you offer more choices. Somebody will buy because their favorite color is there, and who knows if they would have bought you know, a black one or more limited choices. So there's an immediate instant benefit there to doing that in the first place. All right, next. Okay, so this is just kind of like to show you what I'm up to. This kind of like my total standings. This is like the amount of shirts ordered today. You can see this today's is highlighted here. I actually, my biggest day in this campaign, single day sales, was just right around 900. I was trying to shoot and really push all the scaling, all the ads really, really hard. I wanted to get it up to 1,000. Well, I fell short a little bit of that. And then your 900, I had plenty of single days between 500 and 900. And now it's, you know, I'm kind of going slow a little bit today. We have like a snow day here today, and everything is a little bit different. So I didn't have the attention and the time to pay the amount of attention that I usually pay to the running the campaign and pushing things and tweaking stuff. So I just kind of went a little bit more conservative on all the budgets and all the ad sets. And so sales are a little bit less, numbers, lower numbers today. This 18,330 is my total product sold. That's the number that comes up when I hit all time. You know, I blocked out the dollar amounts because, you know, you can kind of estimate your own stuff, but we don't have to like brag around about that. Now this here is another little snapshot that I wanted to show you, that I've started this campaign in the second week of January, and now here we are in the beginning of March. So this is like a 2 months result. Most of it actually happened in the first 5 weeks or so, but this is still going pretty strong. When I have time to pay attention to this campaign, I can still get 500 opt-ins a day. You see, yesterday it was 431. Today there are 220 opt-ins. You know, I had a total opt-in of 26,000 opt-ins. You get some unsubscribed on that over time, so you know, it is what it is. So this is one specific niche that I ran an opt-in funnel to that niche, and I also sold, you know, pretty good. I had pretty good shirt sales on that as well. This is pretty much the. These are two shirts. Again, they were split up between Hanes and, oh, it's not showing, but it's a hoodie. So a lot of hoodie sales here. That's great. Very profitable. So out of, you know, 23,550. Well, you should really, look at this number. 26,000 opt-ins. I was able to sell, here it looks like about 1,400 shirts altogether, roughly. So this is also a very profitable funnel, and I have the list built, so that's a great asset here to have that. All right, now let's go into kind of showing you well, the way that this big campaign developed. Okay, this is all just the big campaign that has right now 7,400 sales, and it just kind of to show you that this did not necessarily reveal itself. Some people kind of run campaigns usually, or they tell you to run campaigns, and you kind of know when something is really taking off. Well, if it is, then you do, but there wasn't any way of knowing in this case. I'll show you the entire rundown of the entire campaign in just a little bit as well. But these here are snapshots from my Google Analytics. You can see the dates up here, and these are the visits. And so this is only the first 2 days. I launched this campaign on February 12th, and this is only in the first 2 days. So I had only 3 transactions. These are basically tracked transactions in Google Analytics. But actually these are, this is pretty complete. There's fairly complete numbers here in Google Analytics. I would say about 85% of all transactions actually show up in Google Analytics. And so well, let me rephrase that. 85% of the problem with Google Analytics is that it's sometimes tricky to assign transactions to specific campaigns. So you'll have transactions show up in Google Analytics that may be hard to know which campaign they actually belong to. Whereas in Teespring Analytics, when you look at that, you already look at the campaign, so you know that all the transactions that are showing up there belong to that campaign. So, and for example, Teespring's own retargeting sales, you cannot identify them by campaign because Teespring doesn't send anything in terms of tracking values to Google Analytics that would make those Teespring retargeting sales and traffic identifiable by campaign. All right, so they show up and you see conversion rates and all that, but that's all kind of like across the board, overall, all of the campaigns that are there. Okay, so these are the first 2 days. So you can see nothing to write home about. I started with PPE and then organic, and here's a little hint, right? See what's going on. So one is that one transaction, so 3 sales total happened here. These are checkout goal completions. And you can see one of them happened through PPE. So this is my tagging that I do with the default tags that are being assigned by Red Retarget. These are the tags that you sign up inside Red Retarget, or actually I should say the organic one is the one that is assigned within Red Retarget, and the one that says PPE, that is assigned through the ad. Okay, so if it says PPE, that means this sale is coming from the actual ad, and in PPE, I tag PPE as coming from the PPE campaigns. So I know this one is going to come from a PPE, and this one should also show up in Facebook reports as a sale that is attributed to a specific PPE campaign. It should. It doesn't always do that. Even the ones that are tracking in Google Analytics and in Teespring Analytics, because they're tagged through Red Retarget, even those are not necessarily going to show up in Facebook reports. But these here, the organic ones, are for sure not going to show up in Facebook reports, okay? Because Facebook, they might, and the reason is this: in Facebook reports, you will only see the sales that fire the tracking pixel and where the sale is attributable to this specific ad campaign. So if the sale did not come through an impression of the post by way of running this ad and paying for this ad, then even though the pixel fires, that sale will not show up in Facebook reports. And that is the biggest issue. That is the biggest problem that Red Retarget fixes in early tracking. Okay, so early sales tracking, you would not have seen these 2 sales at all as far as where they came from, okay? You wouldn't have had a clue where they came from. You would have seen them, of course, in Teespring, but you would have had no idea where they came from. All right, so now this here is actually trackable to a specific ad in Facebook. And this here, you know that it's coming from a PPE post as well. All right, great. So let's move on to the next slide. This is the next day. So now you can see there's a little bit of an expansion going on, right? 3 transactions the first 2 days, 37 transactions the day after that. And then it kind of just blows up from there. This is 1 day later, 63, so it kind of doubles there. This is 210 transactions. This is everything about across the first week. So this is the first week of this campaign, 210 sales at that point, or transactions at that point. But you can see, I mean, you know, remember the first run where it sold 2,500 on the main shirt plus, you know, several hundreds on the hoodies. That campaign ran 12 days, and here we are, you know, 7 days into that campaign. This is 7 days. This is from February 12th to February 18th. We're 7 days into the campaign, and we only have quote unquote, we only have 210 sales. So the first 7 days of the 12-day campaign was kind of sorting stuff out and figuring out where the other traffic will come from and how to scale and where to find the audiences and stuff like that. And then, so once you have all this tracking data, then you can start gaining momentum if you scale these campaigns up the right way. Let's look at the next one. This is the first 2 weeks, and there you can see now we are up at 2,326 transactions. So this is close to, this must be right around the time, I don't quite remember when the first campaign ended, or the first run of the main shirt, when that ended. I don't remember what date it was, but it must be pretty close to that. Yeah, I mean, this is basically 13 days. I think there's actually an additional day. Then the very first main campaign must have ended right here on this spike right here. But anyway, so this gives you kind of a feel for the dynamic. See, I mean, it starts out slow. It doesn't even look like necessarily a winner at all. And then the first week is kind of like, looks like a good campaign, but not necessarily like a blockbuster. And then if you scale right, and if you tap into your analytics the right way and find your audiences and see it, that you can address them, then it all of a sudden allows you to blow it up like this. All right, so this is here the complete campaign overview, and I hope that you can see this clearly enough. I don't think I have a way to blow this up or zoom into this, but if you can kind of full screen your view there in the Hangout, you should be able to see it. So look at this here first. Basically, okay, let me explain how the shirt works, and then we kind of dig, I mean, how the track sheet works, the sheet works, and then we kind of dig into some of the closer columns. Basically, what I find extremely important, and you know, I've had discussions with that with other marketers, and some of them don't agree with me on that, or some of them say, well, that's not that important. You don't need to focus on that. But you know, to me, this stuff is important, so I focus on it. I like to see day-by-day stats. I believe that it's critically important to know when your campaign starts kind of going south a little bit, or losing momentum, losing momentum. And you cannot see this. The bigger your campaign is, the worse you will be able to see this on your overall cumulative stats. And basically, cumulative stats are the stats that Facebook shows you by default. Facebook wants you to see cumulative stats because they know, it seems as if they know that you're not going to recognize if something starts performing worse or even poorly if you're just looking at cumulative stats. Think about it. Down here, right, if something would go bad now, you can see the total ROI here. This is the cumulative total ROI. You can see right here, it reached its peak, 202. Well, that's kind of early on. Then it dipped a little bit, but it stayed strong, right? 190, 180s, 180s. Then it started kind of tapering off a little bit, 160s, 150s, and it's slowing down. Well, when you look over here in the corresponding column for today's ROI, this is today, this is the ROI for each individual day. Each day by itself, what was the ROI? What was the return on the ad spend for that day between the ad spend and the revenue from the shirts? Okay, and so you can see right here, yesterday and the day before, there's a pretty severe dip. You know, that's a very severe dip in ROI. Or you can see, well, total shirt sales also are kind of like much less than they were the few days before that. But then again, you know, I mean, they're still strong, and there wouldn't be a reason to cut that off at that point. That's what I'm saying. But the point is, I need to be able to see daily what's going on that day, okay, and compare what's going on. And that's also why I have this column over here, which shows me for each individual day, this is the average ad cost per shirt that was sold. Okay, and there are different factors going into that. So this is kind of like a very high level overview type metric if you look at this ad cost per shirt, because it can have all kinds of different reasons, right? For example, when you first, like once one run ends and then you start over, your revenue per sale is going to be much less than when you're up there in the hundreds or thousands even, right? So I mean, once you get over 1,000 sales and higher, your cost per shirt really dips. You know, all of a sudden you get like, on average, maybe like $15 or $16 revenue on the Hanes tee, which started out maybe at $12 or $13 when you first set up your campaign. So it really goes up, but then once it goes back down and you're starting your campaign, you know, with 5 sales or your tips, you know, with 10 sales or whatever it is, then your cost per shirt goes up just based on Teespring, okay? So this kind of plays a role in this as well. Okay, so now let's look at this phenomenon that we saw already in the Google Analytics stats. You can see here, I actually had no sales the very first day, and I had, you know, very low ad spend, $9 ad spend. But like, okay, so then the next day I said, well, you know, let's go a little bit long, go a little bit longer on this and see what happens. You know, I spent another $47, but I was still overall negative. I only had 2 sales, probably 3 shirts, 2 sales. No, this is actually shirts. This is not sales. This is actually number of shirts, not number of transactions in this stat. So this was actually just 2 sales in the second day, and by then I already had $47 spent, and I was down 30% on my total ROI. So, you know, who knows? Many people would have killed the campaign at that point, right? But, you know, I believed in the campaign. I wanted to see what was going on, and I went ahead and spent a lot more the next day. I actually discovered an audience that was much better converting, and they were really excited about the shirt. And so all of a sudden, the second day, or the third day in, I all of a sudden had 60 shirts sold. And the today's ROI went almost to 300%. Overall ROI was lifted to 240%. And so that was a cool start here. So now so from there on out, it was kind of clear that the shirt was going to be a winner. Now here, you know, so here is the first week, and then the second week, I think, let's just see here, that this here must have been the day, the 224. This must have been the day when the first set tipped, when the first set ended at 2,500, and then the hoodie was, I think, a couple hundred at that point, or 150, something like that. Don't hold me, you know, in detail to the numbers, but, you know, roughly speaking. So, and you see, I mean, by then, also look at this one, right? The total ad spend really kind of can blow up here. So right now I'm just under $50,000 in ad spends, but then again, I have $7,400 shirts sold, and my total overall ROI is 146%. So that means, you know, you can calculate the numbers from there. But that's kind of just to show you how this all worked out. So, you know, maybe we can go back to this if you have any questions about this chart specifically. It's not that hard to run this. You know, once it's a spreadsheet that does most of the calculations all by itself. Basically I gather this number here of total sales, and I gather the total ad spend and manually enter those on a daily basis, and then the rest is all auto-calculated. And these blotted out areas are, you know, more dollar amounts that, you know, I didn't want you to see. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, so now let's talk about some specifics here of how I do things, and some comments on some of the things that, you know, I would suggest. And I'm, you know, if I launch a course on this, which I guess is more or less inevitable, because I think it would add some pretty good value to the community as a whole. I'm going to go into great detail on all of this, and, you know, I'm going to just kind of touch with some little words of wisdom on each one of those. So first of all, Facebook reports versus analytics. It's important to me in any phase of a scalable launch like this, okay? But particularly important in the very beginning. In the very beginning, I usually start out with PPE ads, and I throw in some click-to-website ads on top of that as well. And there are two reasons for that, and there are different reasons. But the PPE campaigns are the worst in terms of getting actual sales conversions to show up in Facebook reports. The reason is pretty obvious, right? PPE, you run PPE ads in order to get engagement and organic distribution of the post, sharing, commenting, right, while tagging other people in the comments, stuff like that. Then because you get so many comments, you can do re-engaging, you can you know, manually respond to comments and give them the link to order. And you can also use software to wholesale respond to the comments that are there. And you can kick off sales in the beginning of a campaign. You know, even if a shirt doesn't take off on its own, sometimes you have to kick it off by doing some engagement and re-engagement with comments. And so this is the main purpose of having a PPE post and running an ad to that in the first place. The severe disadvantage of PPE is that when people click on the picture, they don't actually go to the shirt URL, right? It just opens up the picture, and they say, oh wow, there's a great picture, let's share it, right? Or let's write a comment on it, or whatever. And so many times they don't even know or see where they can find the actual link to click to go to the shirt. So that's why you get a bunch of engagement, and they share and they comment and they like and all that, which is great. But what you don't get is clicks to the website. And, you know, there are people that run entire big campaigns on PPE posts alone. But I think that in order to really launch something that you can scale like crazy, like this one, you cannot do well just with PPE alone. I mean, I can't imagine. Somebody showed me a case study that runs only PPE campaigns at all, and I'll revise that judgment. But to me, it makes no sense at all to not use click-to-website ads and website conversion ads as well. So now let's go to the next line here, the click-to-website ads. The advantage of that is that you get clicks. You get clicks that you can use to build up an audience. Okay, the clicks. So the difference between click-to-website ads and PPE ads is the way that the post is set up, right? Normally you would run a PPE ad to a shared image post, whereas you would run a CTW or a WC ad to a shared link post. The big difference is that a shared link post also includes a picture, but the picture this time is clickable, and clicking on the picture will take the visitor right over to the shirt URL or wherever you want to send them. Okay, once they click on it, if they have a red retarget link in it, you can build a custom audience based on the URL of the red retarget link. Okay, the red retarget link is going to be on your own domain where you install it. It has your domain name and your slug, and you can put that information as a filter into your custom audience setup in Facebook and create a custom audience based on every single red retarget link that you create. If you don't want to do that, you can also just build a custom audience based on once they land on Teespring on the shirt page, on the shirt URL, and you can put that as a filter into the custom audience. That works fine too, but there are some advantages to doing it with the red retarget link. Mainly, that's because you can actually segment your custom audiences up front, which doesn't make a vast difference if you want to, if you're running a relatively small campaign. But once you run a larger campaign and you get hundreds and hundreds of clicks, it's a smart idea to separate the custom audiences, because each of these custom audiences, see, there are two. Well, we'll talk about that on the next slide. I don't want to burn all the powder right here, but I'm going to hold that thought of why you should want to build multiple segmented custom audiences. Okay, there's some madness to it, some method to that madness. Okay, so anyway, with CTW, you get to build up an audience. That audience will be used for three different purposes. Number one, Teespring retargeting will immediately kick in and start displaying retargeting ads to the people who click to the website. So just by this, more people will see your Teespring's retargeting ads if you're using CTW ads than if you're using PPE ads. Number two, you get to build your custom audience for your own retargeting. Okay, so you can start. I always set up my retargeting campaigns in Facebook immediately when I set up the PPE ads and the CTW ads, because I want to retarget the visitors immediately after they visited the URL. Okay, I want to start seeing them being followed by the shirt that they just saw immediately after they hit the page. And that's how it works in Facebook with the custom audiences. Even if they show that they're not ready yet, or that they have fewer than 20 members on them, they will still already see the retargeting ads displayed to them. And that's another reason for running CTW ads right off the bat, because you're going to build up that retargeting audience much faster with CTW ads for much less money. Okay. And the third reason, and again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. The third reason is that that custom audience that you're building up out of these two guys over here, you're going to use that to put together lookalike audiences. And the lookalike audiences are very, very powerful. And we'll get to that on the next slide. Okay, so three good reasons to build up a custom audience quickly. Many good reasons to segment the custom audience using red retarget. There's no other way to do it, because if you just have the Teespring URL, then that's just one URL. You're going to just have one filter, and that's going to be your entire custom audience. So if you want to segment, you need to use red retarget for that. And then, so the third way is website conversion ads. Website conversion ads run to the same type of posts as click-to-website ads, but these here are being optimized for a conversion criteria, so for a conversion event. Now, these work best once you have already some conversion events that Facebook can tap into to start optimizing based on them, okay? So once you have some sales, or if you're running an opt-in funnel, I actually use the website conversion ads and optimize the ads for the opt-ins, which is great because you're going to get way more opt-ins than you get sales. I didn't run an opt-in funnel on this particular campaign, but in the other campaign that I showed you, where the 23,000 people in Aweber on the list came from, I ran an opt-in funnel to that, and I configured it so that the opt-in is my conversion event that the website conversion ad is optimized for, and it works like a charm. It's wonderful because you get so much. Facebook gets so much data. It's just great. It optimizes much better, and you get better sales, better opt-ins. If you do an opt-in funnel, you get better sales if you optimize for sales. Okay, so website conversion, and then my own retargeting ads, I always run them as website conversion ads, and I usually split them up between desktop and desktop sidebar. I usually have that in one group, in one ad set, in my retargeting, actually in one campaign. I separate them up in a completely separate campaign. And then I'll have mobile in a separate ad set for retargeting. But I run them all as website conversion ads. None of my retargeting ads I run as PPE ads. All right, one more slide. Scaling. So here, many different ways, right? Adding interest. Of course, you can push the budget on the existing ad sets that you have, and you're going to do that to some extent. The problem is always what we find is if we push budget on a single ad set too aggressively or absolutely too high, then the ROI will dip down and it won't be any fun anymore. Okay, so that's always a problem. So you're basically going to have to create new ad sets all the time, and these are the ways to add to them. Mainly adding interest, coming up with different ideas of who might also be interested in this topic or in this shirt that is maybe a somewhat related interest, but not the main interest. Okay. Now, building lookalike audiences. This is where the power of lookalike audiences comes into play. Once you have a custom audience built up to where there are more than 100 people on the custom audience, you can go into Facebook, into the audience manager, and create a lookalike audience based on that custom audience. And that's a great way to let Facebook do some preliminary optimization, some pre-optimization work on an audience. And so these lookalike audiences, you can select them how large you want them to be, and the smaller you want them to be, they start out with being 2 million people. And then they basically go in 2 million people increments. You can create them with 2 million, 4 million, 6 million, 8 million, and that is United States based, right? You can also create them for other countries, but those numbers are based on the lookalike audiences that you'll get when you base them on the United States. So basically, when you build a 2 million audience, you can basically then go back and say, okay, now I have a narrowed down segment. So if you go back even to your broader interest that you had in the beginning, you'll start going, okay, I'm going to have a lookalike audience. So this is now 2 million people versus 48 million people or 170 million people, however many come up in the US audience when you start out without any interest. But then if you put your broad interest back in there, now you might have 120,000 in that audience rather than 500,000. And that's a great way of narrowing it down. So now you can build these lookalike audiences based on different conversion events, because you have to have something to build them off of. You can build them off of conversion pixels, and you can build them off of custom audiences, and you can also build them off of people who like a page. These are basically the main three ways that you can build custom lookalike audiences, right? So let me say that again. You can build them off of custom audiences. So if you put your custom audience together based on the clicks to the t-shirt page, that's one great source of narrowing the people down, because everybody who clicked on your ad is a lot better candidate for that shirt than everybody who didn't click, right? So if you build a lookalike audience based on just everybody who clicked, that's a better pool of prospects than the entire pool that consists of everybody. The second way to build the lookalike audience is off a conversion pixel. So obviously, somebody who opted into your funnel, or even somebody who converted into a sale, is a much better prospect than anyone out there, even than anyone than all the people who just only clicked on to look at the shirt, right? So if you can base your lookalike audience on conversions, on an opt-in conversion, or even a sales conversion, even better, okay? And you can. So you build all these different custom lookalike audiences as soon as you have run up these assets here. So basically, you're thinking of custom audiences as assets that you can use to build lookalike audiences from. And so custom audiences and conversions, they are your assets that you need to start building. So you start building custom audiences, and now you get an idea. Now you get the idea of why you're building the custom audiences segmented into different interests, and you can do that with red retarget links. Okay, so you build a red retarget link based on everybody who likes fishing, right? And let's say you have a shirt that has some sort of crossover, and you build one interest is everybody who likes fishing, and then the other group is everybody who likes hunting. Now you have lookalike audience sources that are already pre-sorted by interests. Okay, and then it goes on and on. If you have opt-ins, that's great. You can put red retarget links into every step, every click that is inside your opt-in funnel. You know, from clicking on an email link or clicking on the link on the thank you page. All these things, you can all build separate custom audiences based on that, so that you have more source assets that you can use to build lookalike audiences. So now, if you use different interests crossed over with lookalike audiences, great, okay? That gives you additional ammunition to build up more and more ad sets and more ads that you can use to target people and to widen your audience. And that is a critical process. This whole thing here is a critical process for scaling a campaign to become huge. It's hardly possible to do this any other way, and this is a great way to do it. Okay, so then you can separate custom audiences also and conversions per shirt, per interest, per gender, per age, and so forth. So then you can go. This is also gives you kind of an idea of why I separated the shirts into different styles, right? So if I have a hoodie page, I can now have a custom audience of hoodie page visitors, so I can retarget the hoodie page visitors with the hoodie shirt, the women's cut page visitors with the women's cut retargeting ads. And you can see, I mean, it's obvious that these are much more targeted because of that, and so you'll have better conversions off of them if you segment them out like this. Separate shirt styles and different time frames as well. So I've gone in and created new custom audiences based on visits, page visits, and I've narrowed that down to only the last 3 days, because I found that if you just have them set to like 30 days or 180 days or whatever it is that you want to do, if you keep running your retargeting ads to 180-day-old visitors and you keep hitting them with the same retargeting ads for the same shirt, your conversion rate is going to drop on those retargeting ads. So the most critical time frame to retarget with your own retargeting, to me, is between 3 and 7 days, or 3 and 5 days. To just get better, higher ROI on the same campaigns, basically, if you target them with shorter time frames. So the leads are fresher. You don't blow your budget on chasing down impressions to old leads. Like, I mean, you can imagine this big page, this big shirt. If you have 7,400 sales in 20 days, those custom audiences of shirt page visitors are rather large now. They're like 30, 40, 50,000 page visitors, or probably even more. They're going to be close to 100,000. If I keep running retargeting ads to those large audiences, that's going to be a large budget that doesn't necessarily turn into a good ROI. So this is why you want to do that. You can do that you basically could do that without red retarget. I just think it's so much easier to do it with red retarget. So that's another good reason to use red retarget for this. Okay, here you go. So if you haven't already, you can access the real sales page that I'm creating for this is still not quite ready, so I'm still going with this $97 lifetime access thing, and here's the link for that. It's redretarget.com/case study. There won't be any refunds once you access the case study. So the case study is right now, it's not live yet, but once it's live, I just don't see any value in giving you a huge big case study, and you look at it and then giving you the option to refund. But there'll be warnings there. So you can basically, there's a 30-day guarantee, money back, no questions asked, blah blah blah, on there even for the $97. So you can check it out. If you don't like red retarget, it's probably because you don't understand it. I mean, it's like it's complicated to understand what all it does. It's very easy to use, But if your mindset is like, oh, you know, I don't know if I can, you know, let's try to save 97 bucks so that I can, you know, I feel that I can do the same thing kind of with Teespring links directly, then okay, it's partly my fault because I didn't explain it well enough, but it's also partly your fault because you don't just trust what I've developed here, what I've had huge success with, and it will work for you too. Anyway, so that's all. Now, let me know what you think, and let me know if you have any questions on all of this. Let me see where I can find your questions so I can possibly answer them. I'm going to keep this slide open. We could dig into, if you have any specific questions to Retarget, if you already are a user and a member, you can feel free to ask any specific questions. We can open that up and can go into that. I don't have a problem with that. If you have any questions about anything that I mentioned in the slides, we can go back to that slide and take a look at that, you know, the charts, whatever I showed there. So shoot away, let me know what's going on and what your thoughts are so far. I'm going to be looking across here that a little bit, let me see. Other than that, okay, there are some rock and roll. Ivan, okay. How do you segment your ads? Okay. How do you segment your ads? Okay, yeah, okay, that's pretty easy to answer. Let's go. Okay, I'm just gonna see if I can answer that without a slide. Basically, I start out with a PPE ad, and I usually shoot when I have any kind of faith in the shirt, which I should have if I launch it in the first place, right? That's kind of a stupid statement, but still, kind of that's what I do. I test with a PPE ad, and I shoot a CTW, a click to website ad right after that, and I segment them usually by gender. And I run the PPE ad to mobile and to desktop newsfeed, and I run the CTW ad to desktop newsfeed and desktop sidebar, and I might run the CTW ad in a separate ad set to mobile as well, but separate. I want to have control with the budgets over these, and I want to have control over getting better stats out of Facebook reports as far as the sharing and the liking and the commenting and all that cost per these actions, and mainly also the cost per click to website. That's always what I look for in the beginning. There is, you know, it's kind of a funny thing. The cost per click to website off of a PPE ad can be much higher than the cost per click to website on a click to website ad, and still be better on the PPE ad than on the CTW ad. One thing that would be interesting to show in the more detailed case study once the campaign has run its course, and I can, you know, look at all of this in more detail, is when I go to Facebook reports, I have a way to kind of create an overview that gives me an overview over the entire campaign, basically just by campaign, and then dialing down by ad set. So I run separate quote-unquote campaigns in Facebook for PPE. Well, you have to, because you can't combine those different objectives in the same campaign in Facebook. So for PPE is separate, for CTW I separate, for website conversion I separate between, for website conversion I always separate between sidebar. I run only sidebar in website conversion, and then I run only desktop newsfeed in another website conversion campaign. I usually don't run website conversion campaigns to mobile. Sometimes I try that a little bit, and I have tried this in this case, but I don't know. It always seems that PPE works a little bit better for mobile than website conversion. Although that's generalization. You have to test, and I've seen phases of campaigns, even of this campaign, convert really well and get me cheap sales for website conversion ads to mobile. But I separate them out in separate, at least separate ad sets, but usually also separate campaigns. When I have my overview, I'm sorry that I don't have a screenshot for this one. I wish I would, but I'll have that in the complete case study. When I have my overview in Facebook reports, I basically will get 5 rows, and each row will be a campaign objective. And so if I have mobile separated from sidebar, separated from desktop newsfeed, I can see conversion cost per conversion per each of those. Well, it would be a placement, but I can see it in the overview right away, and it's only 5 or 6 columns. Oh, I completely forgot to mention that I actually ran video ads on this campaign as well, and they were quite successful in a funny way. Anyway, so when I see this overview, I can see conversion per cost per conversion and cost per sale, cost per checkout conversion. And they are different for the different objectives, and they can be different for the different objectives because of the way that Facebook grabs them or credits different amounts of sales, different counts of sales to different ad types, right? So when you have a website conversion ad that is run as a shared link or as a sidebar ad, you need to get a lower cost per conversion on that than for the PPE. So for the PPE, if I have a cost per conversion of, let's say, $12 to $15, that's wonderful, even though it looks like, you know, that's a very small margin, but it's not, because I know that the PPE post also will get me tons of conversions that are not being tracked in Facebook reports. Okay, so therefore, the cost per conversion on the PPE campaign can be much higher before I have to dig in there and dial and finagle. So, you know, improve that and goose it to be better. Now then I look in my row where I have website conversion ads for sidebar. Well, that needs to be lower. But what I found out too is once you run, you know, large amounts of traffic, really Teespring's own retargeting really kicks in and helps you out with that. You know, both your own retargeting and Teespring retargeting. So if you run website conversion sidebar ads, that can go up to $10 cost per conversion and still be really, really good ROI. I'm talking like 140, 150, 160% ROI. And the reason being, again, that if you have $10 per conversion credited to the click on the website conversion sidebar type ad, that means you also have tons and tons and tons and tons of clicks that didn't buy. And they're going to be the ammunition for your own and for Teespring's retargeting. And they're going to get you tons of additional sales that are not being credited to the to that specific ad category there in the reports. So you have to kind of get your own metrics going for what you're comfortable with, but also realize that the numbers that are in Facebook reports always, always, always look a lot worse than your actual numbers are. Okay, but you have to know how your actual numbers are, and Red Retarget helps you by tagging everything so you can look at it in Google AdWords, and tagging everything so you can look at it, and not AdWords, Google Analytics, and tagging everything so you can also look at it in Teespring Analytics. Okay, all right, let's see, here's another question. Can you clarify if the PPE versus CTW ads are also different ad formats and not just different goals? Yes, yes, they are. I tried to explain that. The PPE is shared picture, which means it's just an image, a shared image post. And the big difference is on those, you have the link only in the description of the picture. But when they click on the picture just pops up and they just see the picture in bigger. Okay, but it doesn't take them. So in other words, clicking on the picture on the shared image post does not take them to the shirt URL. Now, there is a school of thought that says, well, that's kind of like a landing page. And now they get to kind of like micro commit to, oh, now we're seeing the shirt and we love it even more than when we saw it in small. Now let's hunt down where the click is that takes us to where we can buy the thing. And so with all this stuff going on in the process of the lead there, you know, that's why the click to website, once they find the click to the website, when it comes from a PPE post, is that much more valuable, because there's so much more, they have to do so much, they have to take so much more action in order to actually click on the link to the website. Whereas, you know, the difference now being on the CTW goal, you send that typically to a shared link post. The shared link post also has a picture, but it's this wider angle format, and it's a clickable image. So the image, when you click the image on a shared link post, is going directly over to the shirt page. Okay, let me do an aside on this one. There are now 3 different types of those clickable posts. There's a dark post, which means the post is not going to show up on your Facebook page. And then there's what's kind of referred to as the light post, right, as opposed to the dark post. The light post is pretty much the same thing, exactly the same thing as a dark post, except it's published on your Facebook page. But it's a post that resides on the page. As opposed to the third kind of type of this type of clickable link ad is now, I don't really know, I haven't heard that referred to any specific name, but it's the type of post that you can create kind of on the fly in Power Editor. There is now in the segment where you set up the specifics for the ad, there's now a section where you can choose between using an existing post, which you can also create there, but existing post here meaning it's a post that's going to reside on the page, as opposed to you can also set up a post in Power Editor directly right there inside the ad. And that method of setting up a post has huge advantages. It also has some disadvantages, but it has huge advantages that I've leveraged in scaling this campaign. As an example, one of the huge advantages is that you can edit the copy that is in the description and even in the call to action in the link. And you can even edit the picture itself. You can even switch out the picture later on. And so, for example, in this case, I used that on the day that and the few days before that a campaign was closing to hammer home urgency, right? So I changed the copy on the post to say, you know, closing in 12 hours, closing in 6 hours, closing in 3 hours, blah, 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 only 1 hour left. And I did this right there by just editing the ad copy in the ads and Power Editor and republishing the campaign. And approval goes very, very fast if that's all you do. So it's like no big deal. And you can even, so typically what I did there, when I did it this way, which I didn't usually do it that way with any of the other types of posts, but what you can do there is you can very, very easily set up different versions of the ad. So I was always running different ad images to the different colors of the shirt to just kind of see, you know, which one would maybe work better for this audience. And, you know, none of them really won overall. It seems like the purple tee was always doing really well. In terms of engagement, conversions, website clicks, sales, cost of sales, all of that. And the black tea was also doing really well. The red tea was also pretty good. So basically, I tested 4 ads per ad set all the time. And basically, the only thing that was different was the color of the shirt. Or sometimes I kind of changed the arrangement of the shirt on the ad picture a little bit. But you know, nothing major, not like major stuff. I usually kind of like to use one single shirt image blown up as much as you can get away with without triggering 20% rule issues. So anyway, and then you could also, well, let's just leave it at that. It's already confusing enough. Enough of that question. Very good. Do you have anything else? What other questions do you guys have? Put the questions in so I can see them in the Q&A. I see one of them. Let's see what happens here when I select that. Selecting question. Wow, look at that. Currently answering. I can hear you. Okay, great. All right. Well, I already answered that question. So where is more questions? Where are more questions? Done. So I'm going to click on done here. Cool. All right, I see it. All right, great. So let's select this one and kind of just knock them out here so my thing clears up a little bit. Ask me any more questions if you have any. Anything you want. Open, free for all. If you don't have any questions, I go back to my campaign, tweak it a little bit more, see if it can go up to 10,000. Oh, but by the way, the reason why I'm not revealing the specifics yet on the campaign is that I've actually already had a campaign taken down. Teespring has already taken down an immediate knockoff. I can't even believe it. I mean, the campaign, the design of this shirt is so unique. I personally can't imagine going in there and ripping somebody else's design like exactly, like, right? I mean, the more original a design is, the more stupid it is it, wouldn't you agree, to just take it exactly and throw up your own campaign. And it actually had like 90 sales on it, and sure enough, Teespring took it down within less than 24 hours for me. It's really dumb. Okay, no, the video ads. Okay, let me select this question. Ta-da, Scott. Yes, ta-da, nice. The video ads are video ads on Facebook. There is an objective that you can select now. It's just like PPE or CTW or website conversion, but in this objective you select video views, and I have a little problem with that. There is a really cool feature that you can use to build up extra custom audiences. Facebook actually lets you build up custom audiences off of video views, and that's really nice because those custom audiences are very cheap. They're going to be very cheap. If you think about it, what are you building custom audiences off of, right? So if you're building the custom audience off of a click to the website, then that's going to cost you anywhere from, usually click to website on a PPE is maybe between 50 cents and $1.50, something like that. If it turns into a good ROI on shirt sales, that's kind of a rough number that I'm giving you from what I'm observing. On a CTW ad, the click to website is usually quite a bit cheaper. It's between maybe about 30 cents to maybe about $1. Well, if it's $1, then it's probably not a profitable CTW ad, but it has to be like in the range of I would say between 30 and 50 cents. Lower if you can get it, but not necessarily. So that's a cheaper custom audience than building it off of PPE. But off of video views throughout my campaign, my video views are at about 4 or 5 cents. So if you could build a custom audience off of that, that would be pretty darn cool. That's very cheap to build, and that would be a good custom audience. So that's the main reason. But actually, I ran the video views objective, but I kind of ran them a little bit like a PPE campaign because I had a link in the description of the video, and also you can also put a link into the very back of the video. You're going to have a call to action button at the very end when the video is over. But personally, I thought that running that video ad kind of more on the similar purpose of PPE, get a lot of viral distribution and get people to engage with the shirt design. I featured the shirt design and kind of explained it a little bit because it was like you could use some explanation. and so that's why I made the video this way, and it worked. Actually, the video had percentage-wise more viral engagement than the PPE ads. My PPE ads have about I would say between a 25 to 75, 30 to 70 split between organic views and paid views. And on the video, it's almost 50-50, slightly higher paid than organic, but almost 50-50. So the viral engagement is stronger there than on the PPE. Covers that. All right, let's see. At what point do you start running WC ads, and do you continue the CTW ads at the same time? That's a good question. Actually, I stopped the CTW ads. I don't personally like managing CTW ads because it seems as if with the CTW ads, you're better off when you tweak around, like when you set the cost per click, what it's worth to you, when you finagle that all the time. But if you have a lot of them running, that's a lot of work. So I've kind of found it more better spent with my time to find new audiences, find new interests, find ways of building, crossing over the lookalike audiences with different interests, and throwing audience intersect settings in there as well, partially. So there's so much stuff to do. So I just don't like the maintenance that is required by the CTW. So as soon as I can, as soon as I have plenty of clicks to website already, I can go ahead and run the WC and drop the CTW ads. Now, I mean, remember, the CTW custom audiences are not just built off of the clicks through that specific link. Well, if you build them through Red Retarget, then yes, they are. And there might be good reasons to keep running the CTW ads, but that's not what I did in this case. So I started running WC ads as soon as I have conversions where they can be based off of. If you're running an opt-in funnel, you should run the WC ads right off the bat. There's no reason whatsoever, in my mind, to run CTW ads to an opt-in funnel. Because you're gonna have, I mean, if you have a funnel that is even halfway decent, you're gonna have anywhere between 30 and 50% opt-ins. You should. I mean, in my opt-in funnel, I run this as giveaway, and I give away a shirt. I tried different things. I tried it first when I first started that. I tried coffee mugs. That worked pretty well, but the shirt, well, I have a really nice shirt that works really, really well. I should say that. Probably not all opt-in funnels works equally well with any shirt, but the one that I have is based on a shirt giveaway, and it's a very well converting shirt, and I get about 50%, started out at 60%, tapered off to about 50% opt-ins. So if you get that many opt-ins, you're going to have conversions that you can use to build the lookalike audiences and do everything else that you need to do. So you don't need to run a CTW ad to an opt-in funnel. Can you clarify? You said you had a campaign taken down. Was this because TS said you sure it was? No. It was the other way around. I had Teespring take down a shirt that was an exact copy of the shirt that I sold 7,000 of. So how stupid can you be to try that, right? So I had Teespring took a shirt down for me that was copying my stuff, and it was before it was very similar. I've had them take down another shirt of mine before. I mean, a shirt that was infringed on my copyright, to say very clearly. And to me, this process is very, very straightforward. It's very fair, very just. It can't be ambiguous. It has to be the same and or the exact design, the color scheme. If they just change up a few fonts or so, then it's still clear enough. On that other shirt that was taken down, they had changed up the one little bit of font, but had used the exact same saying, exact same color scheme. Everything was exactly the same, except one little piece of font was changed slightly. So they took that down. And in this case, they changed the little bit of text that's on the shirt, but they ripped off the design element, which is the most important part of this shirt. They ripped that off verbatim, and so they took it down because of that. Yeah. So yeah, it's the other way around, but it was what I just described. Okay, did you try the new multi-product ad type? No, I didn't. I haven't tried that. It's an interesting setup to try, but I have to read up on that. If you can, I would assume you can set different links. I mean, that's another advantage of when you're running these the posts in the way that I explained before, where you set up the posts inside Power Editor where you can edit them later. the other kind of advantage of that is that you don't inundate your page with different posts, all different posts, but all posted at the same time. If they all show up on the page, that's kind of weird. If so that would have to be dark posts, but then it's a lot of work to set up these different posts, and none of them you can edit. So if you want to make a slight change, like changing the time frame, then you have to set up all these posts all over again. So there are lots of reasons why you should use that built-in on-the-fly creation post setup ad creation tool in Power Editor. One of them is you can use different links that go to land on different shirts, and that is another feature that honestly I have not seen this implemented at all, functionally implemented. I'm not talking bad or better or worse. I'm talking I have not seen another redirect program that can do what Retarget does, in that you can land on any style, on any color with that link, with the link that you create, and still have all the pass-through parameter, default parameter trigger, override default parameter functionality, all of that tracking features, all of this is still maintained in Retarget, and you can set up each link to land on a different landing style and color on the landing page. So that's what I did when I test the different color shirts in the different ad images. I also set up the links in those so that each one lands on the shirt that is being displayed, and I think that's very effective. What are the disadvantages of using the built-in ad creator? The disadvantages are that the main disadvantage is that when you change the ad copy, you lose social proof. The social proof of the ad resets at that point. So when you change the ad copy or when you change the image, you're losing the like and share counts and all that stuff, because they're basically treating it as a different ad. That's the main disadvantage. I can't really think of any other disadvantage right now. And I don't think really that, I mean, if you have a huge shirt with a huge momentum that runs in a very short time, I don't think that's a very important disadvantage. I mean, to me, it was a no-brainer to use it that way, because the advantages way outweigh the disadvantages. Okay, that's that one. Nice. This is nice. I like this. Did you make ads for different devices? Well, only in that I made the wide format ads for sidebar and desktop newsfeed, and I displayed some of that also on mobile devices when I ran them in WC mode, website conversion mode, and I created the square, larger square images, which is the main advantage of PPE ads, right? They show better in the mobile newsfeed on mobile devices. So I created those big square ones. I use, by the way, I use Ad Factory for most of my ad creation. It's the easiest way for me to do it, and it's very teachable for VAs. Yeah, I think you lose comments as well. I don't even know that there is probably a way to check on these comments. I don't really know, but you definitely lose them. Yeah, you lose them. When you edit the post, it's like a new post. Okay, this done. How do you get new design ideas? Are your designs more text-based or creative ones? Any tip here? Well, my general tip is, in the order of importance, here's how a design is successful, how a campaign is successful. Number one, far ahead of everything else, is a great saying. Okay, the saying has to be engaging, it has to be a great saying. I've kind of developed a rule of thumb for the saying. It has to have I in it. I know there's some people, I read some comments or some posts of successful Teespring sellers that say mine has to have at least 2 cuss words in it. saying. Frankly, I'm not all that comfortable with making sure it's with customers. You know, I have little children, and they kind of enjoy looking over daddy's shoulder, and so I enjoy much better if I have a shirt that's free from cussing and bad language and innuendos and sexual stuff and all that. I like it if I take quite a bit of personal gratification and satisfaction from the fact that this big huge winner shirt is not based on that. It doesn't have anything bad on it. But that's just kind of my personal thing. Okay, so then the second item, yes, the second item is great targeting, right? So, but that's really independent of the saying, right? If you have a saying could be applied to a bunch of different targets, and you have to maybe tweak it and modify it a little bit to match the target better. But that's the point. Once it's modified, then you have to have great targeting, and the great targeting happens, by selection, in audience insights, and so forth. So finding the right audience, tweaking it for that. And the third one is actually the design. I don't think in general that the design is all that important. With this shirt, with this big one, the design is extremely important, but not in the way that you think. I mean, it's not really a text-based, a saying-based shirt. It's a shirt that is based on a design, but it's more based on the meaning of the design than on the artistic implementation of the design, to say it, very precisely. Yeah. So, but anyway, so, you go everywhere, look for ideas and see if you can come up with stuff. Ironically, my best designs, I mean, even my best shirts, my best winners shirts, I have always come from my own designs. I always tell my designers, hey, look, I pay you for your designs, and I work with 3 or 4 different designers on a more or less regular basis, and they do designs for me all the time, and they're winning shirts. It's not like they're all losers. They're winning shirts. But what I'm saying is the best campaigns, the ones that have sold over 1,000, that one that I showed you with the opt-in funnel, that also is, up to over 1,000. I had another one in another niche that also sold well over 1,000, like 1,500. But most of them were more like evergreen. They sold more over time. And but they were all my own designs, and I implemented. I mean, what I mean by that is not designs that I made up and then had a designer tweak them out, but I mean, they were designs that I put together myself without the help of a designer. So, but I hope to change that in the near future. I mean, I really want to. I realize the need for taking myself out of the creative process more and out of the testing process and that whole automation, because you need to run a lot of campaigns typically in order to get some really good winners. Did you target Android, smartphone, and iPhone users separately? No, I didn't. I probably should. At some point, I was kind of hunting around in my Google Analytics stats. I mean, Google Analytics is a fountain of information, of tracking information. Even just perusing through your Google Analytics after you have some good stats, after you have a couple hundred sales of anything or a couple hundred opt-ins of anything, sales better than opt-ins. But there's so much stuff. There's demographics, there's platform usage and stuff like that. And I actually found that over 30% of all my transactions across the board of all campaigns over an extended period of time, over 30% of all transactions come from iDevices, iPhone or iPad. So if there is anything to improve on the user experience by creating a special ad, a special separate campaign for iDevices, I think that would definitely be worth it, just because there's so many of them. So, but yeah, I did not separate that. I just go for mobile versus desktop. All right, my friends, I think I actually have another appointment, another call, and it seems like questions are trickling down a little bit. If you have any more questions, throw them up there right now altogether. Don't wait for my answers on other questions. Throw them up in the next 2 minutes, and I'll answer all of them that will come up during that time. But if you don't have any more questions, then we'll call it a day. I don't know if that Hangout will actually stop the recording after 90 minutes. I think I scheduled that Hangout for 90 minutes, so hopefully that won't cut us off, but it might in 5 minutes. Okay, looks like no more questions. Looks like no more questions. Turn on the camera, say hi to that. Hi to the camera. Can you see me now? I don't know. Hi to the camera. Okay, it was great to have you here. I will look at the stats to see what's going on. If you're not in Red Retarget yet, go ahead and use this link. I think there's a timer on it for like until Sunday, and by then the sales page should be ready. I am preparing to put out generic. Well, generic, I wouldn't call it generic. I don't think that you can put out a generic course if you have a campaign with 8,000 sales that people want to hear about. And I suppose I always have a more technical viewpoint on things, just because that's kind of the way I work, and that's what makes me tick, is analyzing numbers and stuff like that. And so if there will be a course that's coming from me, then that'll be for technical people. I suppose that you can get a lot of other aspects of a lot of other things that are already out there where you can get started. And if anything, I think people need something where they know how to scale stuff and what to do when you have a winner at your hands. I think that without technical things and without Red Retarget and without the skills and the experience in reading the results and the tracking and the stats, I may not have been able to scale the thing to 7,000 sales. By the way, one thing I wanted to mention, I forgot to put that image into this presentation here. One thing I wanted to mention is that I started on the 12th, on February 12th, I started this whole campaign with 0 on the Facebook page. I started with a brand new Facebook page. I posted a video on there that wasn't my video, that I thought was kind of funny. And I posted my shirt ad, and then the next day I posted the video about the shirt and about the design. And that's pretty much all there was ever. And then that specific audience was really, really slow to engage. It was a very untypical campaign. Like the PPE ads never had anything better than 15, 20 cents per engagement, which is bad, man. For a good campaign, for an average good campaign, that's horrible. We're shooting for under 10, ideally under 5 cents, under 7 cents per engagement on a PPE campaign. This campaign was never there, never, with not a single ad set was below 12, 11 cents. Most of them, the ones that I ran to desktop, were most of them were always around 22, 25, 30, even above 30. There were very profitable ones. The women's shirts, once I launched the women's shirts and I ran ads directly to the women's shirts, they were like at 40 cents per cost per engagement. But they were profitable. They were great. They were selling. They weren't engaging. They weren't leaving comments, but they were selling. They were buying. So to go figure, everything's different. But that's why you need stats. That's why you need tracking. That's why you need Red Retarget to create you more tracking than you can ever get from Facebook reports, because then you can see it all in Facebook, and not in Facebook, in Google Analytics, Teespring Analytics, and everywhere else. Okay, that was it. Thank you very much for attending. Have a good one. I see you soon. Now, how do you stop the thing? Leave call. Maybe I should do that. Settings. How about leave call? Will that work? Or is it going to mess it up?